On the 20 slides shown below, I present the original photographs of the Second World War from the German archive, which are in my collection. These photos are from my collection department, Wehrmacht on the Eastern and Western Fronts. If you like it, subscribe to my YouTube, like it, so you don't miss the new weekly presentations. If you would like to order 5 inches by 7 inches copies of these photos from the original, you can specify which photos you would like to receive. Laboratory quality. Enjoy your viewing. The Heinkel He 111 is a German airliner and bomber designed by Siegfried and Walter Gunther at Heinkel Flugzeugwerke in 1934. Through development, it was described as a wolf in sheep's clothing. Due to restrictions placed on Germany after the First World War prohibiting bombers, it was presented solely as a civil airliner, although from conception the design was intended to provide the nascent Luftwaffe with a heavy bomber. Perhaps the best recognized German bomber of World War II due to the distinctive, extensively glazed greenhouse nose of the later versions, the Heinkel He 111 was the most numerous Luftwaffe bomber during the early stages of the war. It fared well until it met serious fighter opposition during the Battle of Britain, when its defensive armament was found to be inadequate. As the war progressed, the He 111 was used in a wide variety of roles on every front in the European theatre. It was used as a strategic bomber during the Battle of Britain, a torpedo bomber in the Atlantic and Arctic, and a medium bomber and a transport aircraft on the Western, Eastern, Mediterranean, Middle Eastern, and North African front theatres. The Junkers Ju-87 or Stuka, from Sturzkampfflugzeug, dive bomber, is a German dive bomber and ground attack aircraft. Designed by Hermann Pohlmann, it first flew in 1935. The Ju-87 made its combat debut in 1937 with the Luftwaffe's Condor Legion during the Spanish Civil War of 1936 to 1939 and served the Axis in World War II from beginning to end, 1939 to 1945. The aircraft is easily recognizable by its inverted gull wings and fixed spatted undercarriage. Upon the leading edges of its faired main gear legs were mounted ram air sirens known as Jericho trumpets, which became a propaganda symbol of German air power and of the so-called Blitzkrieg victories of 1939 to 1942, as well as providing Stuka pilots with audible feedback as to speed. The Stuka's design included several innovations, including automatic pull-up dive brakes under both wings to ensure that the aircraft recovered from its attack dive even if the pilot blacked out from the high G-forces. Germany built an estimated 6,000 Ju-87s of all versions between 1936 and August 1944. Unterschach, the 12th of November 1917, the 14th of June 2003, was a German Luftwaffe military aviator during World War II and a fighter race credited with 174 enemy aircraft shot down in 780 combat missions. All of his victories were claimed on the Eastern Front. Born in Bartenstein in Eastern Prussia, Schach joined the military service in the Luftwaffe of Nazi Germany in 1939. Following flight training, he was posted to 7. Staffel, Squadron, of Jägergeschwader 51, JG-51, 51st Fighter Wing. He claimed his first aerial victory on the 23rd of July 1941 during Operation Barbarossa, the German invasion of the Soviet Union. In April 1943, he was posted to fighter pilot training, returning to the Eastern Front in July. He claimed his 100th aerial victory in September and was awarded the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross on the 29th of October 1943. Schach was appointed Stabfeldkapitän, squadron leader, of 9. Staffel and received the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross with oak leaves on the 20th of April 1944 following 133 aerial victories. In December 1944, he was appointed Gruppenkommandeur, Group Commander, of the I-Gruppe, 1st Group, of JG-51 Molders. This unit was disbanded in April 1945. He then briefly took command of 4. Sturm, Gruppe of Jägergeschwader 3 Udat, JG-3, 3rd Fighter Wing, which he led until the end of World War II in Europe. After the war he lived secluded in the Eifel Mountains, and devoted himself to philosophical research and died on the 14th of June 2003 in Schmidt, Nideggen. The Messerschmitt Bf 109 is a German World War II fighter aircraft that was, along with the Focke-Wulf FW-190, the backbone of the Luftwaffe's fighter force. The Bf 109 first saw operational service in 1937 during the Spanish Civil War and was still in service at the end of World War II in 1945. It was one of the most advanced fighters when it first appeared, with an all-metal monocoque construction, a closed canopy, and retractable landing gear. It was powered by a liquid-cooled, inverted V12 aero engine. It was called the Me-109 by Allied aircrew and some German aces, even though this was not the official German designation. It was designed by Willy Messerschmitt and Robert Lusser, who worked at Bayerische Flugzeugwerke during the early to mid-1930s. It was conceived as an interceptor, although later models were developed to fulfill multiple tasks, serving as bomber escort, fighter bomber, day, night, all-weather fighter, ground attack aircraft, and aerial reconnaissance aircraft. It was supplied to several states during World War II and served with several countries for many years after the war. The Bf 109 is the most produced fighter aircraft in history, with a total of 34,248 airframes produced from 1936 to April 1945. Some of the Bf 109 production took place in Nazi concentration camps through slave labor. The Bf 109 was flown by the 3 top-scoring fighter aces of all time, who claimed 928 victories among them while flying with Jägergeschwader 52, mainly on the Eastern Front. The highest scoring, Erich Hartmann, was credited with 352 victories. The aircraft was also flown by Hans-Joachim Marseille, the highest scoring ace in the North African campaign, who shot down 158 enemy aircraft, in about a third of the time. It was also flown by many aces from other countries fighting with Germany, notably the Finn Ilmari Juutilainen, the highest-scoring non-German ace. Pilots from Italy, Romania, Croatia, Bulgaria, and Hungary also flew the Bf 109. Through constant development, the Bf 109 remained competitive with the latest Allied fighter aircraft until the end of the war. The Messerschmitt Bf 110, often known unofficially as the Me-110, is a twin-engine Zerstörer, destroyer, heavy fighter, fighter bomber, Jagd bomber or Jobbo, and night fighter, Nachtjäger, developed in Nazi Germany in the 1930s and used by the Luftwaffe during World War II. Hermann Göring was a proponent of the Bf 110, believing its heavy armament, speed, and range would make the Bf 110 the Luftwaffe's premier offensive fighter. Early variants were armed with 2 MG FF 20mm cannon, 4 7.92 mm, .312 in, MG-17 machine guns, and 1 7.92 mm, .312 in, MG-15 machine gun for defense. Later variants would replace the MG-FFs with MG-151s, and the rear gunner station would be armed with the twin-barreled MG-81Z. Development work on an improved type to replace the Bf 110, the Messerschmitt Me-210, began before the war started, but its shakedown troubles resulted in the Bf 110 soldiering on until the end of the war in various roles. Its intended replacements, the aforementioned Me-210 and the significantly improved Me-410 Hornista, never fully replaced the Bf-110. Joachim Munchberg, the 31st of December 1918, the 23rd of March 1943, was a German Luftwaffe fighter pilot during World War II and an ace credited with 135 air victories. The majority of his victories were claimed over the Western Front, with 33 claims over the Eastern Front. Of his 102 aerial victories achieved over the Western Allies, 46 were against Supermarine Spitfire fighters. He was given command of JG-26's 2. Gruppe, 2nd Group, in September 1941 and was then posted to Jägergeschwader 51, JG-5151 ST Fighter Wing, on the Eastern Front, in July 1942. Serving as a Geschwader Commodore, Wing Commander, in training under JG-51 Wing Commander Karl Gottfried Nordmann, he claimed his 100th aerial victory on 5 September 1942, for which he was awarded the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross with oak leaves and swords on 9 September 1942, his score then at 103 aerial victories. On 1 October 1942 Munchberg was given command of Jägergeschwader 77, JG-77, 77th Fighter Wing, operating in the Mediterranean theater. He died of wounds following a mid-air collision during combat near Mnazi, Tunisia on 23 March 1943. The Arado R-96 is a German single-engine, low-wing monoplane of all-metal construction, produced by Arado Flugzeugwerke. It was the Luftwaffe's standard advanced trainer during World War II. Designed by Walter Bloom as the result of a 1936 Reichswehr Ministry tender, the prototype, powered by a 179 kilowatts, 240 horsepower, Argus's 10C engine, first flew in 1938. In 1939, an initial batch of R-96A aircraft was produced. This was followed by the major production series, the more powerful R-96B, fitted with the Argus's 410 engine. In 1943, Arado started development of a new derivative of the R-96, using non-strategic metals and wood, to be powered by a 580 horsepower, 430 kilowatts, Argus's 411 megaamperes engine. The French company SIPA was ordered to build 3 prototypes and 25 Presaries aircraft, but the Allied invasion of France forced the Germans to shift production of the R-396 to Czechoslovakia. The first Czech-built example flew on 24 November 1944, with about 12 more examples completed by a consortium of several Czech manufacturers, led by Avia. SIPA, meanwhile, continued work on its prototype after the German retreat from France, with the first French-built R-396, redesignated SIPA S.10, flying on 29 December 1944. The Messerschmitt Me 163 Comet is a rocket-powered interceptor aircraft primarily designed and produced by the German aircraft manufacturer Messerschmitt. It is the only operational rocket-powered fighter aircraft in history as well as the first piloted aircraft of any type to exceed 1,000 km per hour, 620 miles per hour, in level flight. Development of what would become the Me-163 can be traced back to 1937 and the work of the German aeronautical engineer Alexander Lippisch and the Deutsche Forschungsanstalt für Segelflug, DFS. Initially an experimental program that drew upon traditional glider designs while integrating various new innovations such as the rocket engine, the development ran into organizational issues until Lippisch and his team were transferred to Messerschmitt in January 1939. Plans for a propeller-powered intermediary aircraft were quickly dropped in favor of proceeding directly to rocket propulsion. On the 1st of September 1941, the prototype performed its maiden flight, quickly demonstrating its unprecedented performance and the qualities of its design. Having been suitably impressed, Nazi officials quickly enacted plans that aimed for the widespread introduction of Me-163 point defense interceptors across Germany. During December 1941, work began on the upgraded Me-163B, which was optimized for large-scale production. During early July 1944, German test pilot Heini Dittmar reached 1,130 km per hour, 700 miles per hour, an unofficial flight airspeed record that remained unmatched by turbojet-powered aircraft up until 1953. That same year, the Me-163 began flying operational missions, being typically used to defend against incoming enemy bombing raids. As part of their alliance with Empire of Japan, Germany provided design schematics and a single Me-163 to the country. This led to the development of the Mitsubishi J8M. By the end of the conflict, roughly 370 commits had been completed, most of which were being used operationally. However, some of the aircraft's shortcomings were never addressed, and the type was not as effective in combat as had been hoped. Being only capable of a maximum of 7.5 minutes of powered flight, its range fell short of projections and greatly limited its potential. Efforts to improve the aircraft were made, most notably the development of the Messerschmitt Me-263, but many of these did not see actual combat due to the sustained advancement of the Allied powers into Germany in 1945.